What is going on? Let's talk about on this video the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. This has been the #1 most requested feedback or review or reaction or whatever, and the main trial kind of just ended up, I think, but I wanted to make sure we cover it. So Amber Heard just got sentenced, and she got tagged with $15 million in damages. Now there are some rules and things like that that may reduce it, but at the end of the day, she owes well over $10 million. Effectively, she owes more money than she is worth. Now she's going to appeal and things like that. But, at the end of the day, I think there's a decent chance, like a 50-50 chance, she's just going to have to bankrupt and just I don't know how she's going to get out of that. What I want to say is, I think that this case overall shows what I think is it reveals the fundamental flaw of the hashtag believe all women, hashtag me too, and those kind of things that have been prevalent in the church as well, guys. That we have some pastors out there who have supported it and things like that, and at a minimum we have pastors and people who haven't spoken against it. They haven't said anything wrong with that. Look, I understand that there's fundamentally some issues out there in the world with some people that are treated differently and things like that, but the idea that someone's identity of any kind, male, women, gay, straight, whatever, black, white, whatever, but the idea that someone's identity would somehow indicate their ability to tell the truth, or that their innocence is somehow tied to their identity, is absolute insanity, guys. And I think that this verdict in this case really, really put it out there that equality and justice is still a thing, and that I would even go as far as to say that I think that the kind of the Me Too and the believe all women thing is going to be in big trouble because of this trial. There is a reason why, or what people call lady justice, or you learn in law school. I didn't go to law school, but I've heard this, that you learn that lady justice is blind. There's a reason people are taught that. It is because judges and whatnot are not supposed to judge based on somebody's anything, based on their identity at all. I'm going to share with you, I'm going to do a quick share here, share something that was on the Timcast IRL show the other day. This is a big doctor. She's a clinical psychologist, and she has a very, very interesting take on this. Let me see if I can play this for you.
Kind of a victim role, right? And with the Amber Heard thing as well, it was very interesting because from a criminal psychology standpoint, attractive women will always fare better in a courtroom than an unattractive woman, unless it is shown that she used her attractiveness to in some way carry off the crime, and then her attractiveness will statistically turn against her.
Interesting.
Right? So about toxic femininity.
So, okay, that was a big wow. That was a big wow to me, that attractive women disproportionately get favored in courtrooms because of their looks or whatever, unless of course they get caught using that in the case to somehow bend the law or break the law. So I think that this whole thing, this whole case, I think speaks to the whole issue with what people call toxic femininity, which is a spinoff of toxic masculinity. And so toxic masculinity would be if men tend to be aggressive or competitive or whatever, and we use that in a way to gain a disproportional advantage or to kind of twist things. Toxic femininity is where women use their femininity, their looks, for the most part, or it could be other things, but where they use that to get an edge or whatever. So one thing I will tell you as a personal note is, when I went through my ex filed divorce on me, and when she did that, I had to hire one of the top, or the #1 lawyer in Texas. I hired Deion Sanders' lawyer. And so one of the things that they told me, because my ex was beautiful, that she was going to use that to her advantage, and that the judge would probably give her favoritism based on that, versus if she was a mild looking woman, we may have won significantly more, whereas things got divided down 50-50 essentially. But what was crazy is I couldn't believe that they were telling me that. And that's actually what happened in the court case. So I don't know if the judge will ever see this or whatever, but it is on the record. I'm not talking smack about anybody, so I don't mind sharing it. But it was funny because in the first time we were on trial, or my ex got on the stand, the judge had asked her a question, which I don't want to reveal what it is, but he talked to her like in a baby voice, and me and my lawyer looked at each other like, what is he doing? He's talking to her like he's her dad, and she's like a 10-year-old, and so he specifically changed his tone based on her femininity, versus if she was a mild dressing woman or just didn't have the makeup on or whatever and just looked normal, like he probably wouldn't have did that. So it was crazy because I'm thinking right there, like, dude, this is toxic femininity, like in full play. And here we are as Christians and those kind of things, but yet we use those things to our advantage. So let me know what you guys think about this. Okay, I'm interested to know what you guys think about this. To be honest, this whole topic has really kind of just boiled up with me in the past, I would say 3 or 4 days. Now that this came forward with the Amber Heard thing, I think that I started remembering like a lot of women in church over the years, over the decades, saying like, well, women got to use their thing, they got to use their, if they got to use that to get in, whether it's getting into a job, a relationship, getting, a head up on a judge or whatever. I'm just gonna say it, like it shouldn't be that way. If we were making decisions for the past 100 years based on identity, like we would still be stuck in slavery. We would still be stuck in, or not slavery, I guess not 100 years ago, but we'd still be stuck in systemic racism. We would still be stuck in a lot of things that we used to do that we have moved past. And that's what makes America great, is we decided, and enough people decided to say, hey, we got to put our foot down and speak truth to power and get us out of these things. And so I feel like this is my personal thought, and I'm interested to know what you guys think about this. But I feel like this whole Amber Heard thing and Johnny Depp thing, when it first went down, I didn't know who said what or whatever, and I didn't listen to a lot of commentary. I just what I do is I just try to go and listen to the people. I don't try to listen to a lot of commentary. But right away, I remember starting to think, number one, these two are very weird. Like, these people are weird as hell. Like, they're both dual recording each other, and they're both kind of setting each other up. Like, man, these people are weird, they're twisted, both of them. And I was like, man, this is how they roll. I mean, obviously they know how to do, like, they're professionals at recording each other and getting the other person and, like, you know what I mean, trying to like woo the other person into saying something. I thought that was weird, number one. And number two, I thought it became very clear that this Amber girl was making stuff up. And so the problem with that is she went and wrote and had an article published in the Washington Post about this story about Johnny Depp, which, to be honest, I didn't read the whole thing, but I did read some of it. But that was what the whole court case was about. It was a defamation of character case where she claimed these things that were a flat out lie, and as the jury ended up ruling. So, and not only was it a lie, I mean, she owes him a lot of money based on his public figure status. I think that he is probably restored. I don't know, maybe, I think he's probably restored in good graces back, into this. I mean, man, if he had come down and, there was overwhelming evidence that he was, totally tripping in this case, I think his career would have been done. But anyway, let me know what you guys think on that. Let me play the rest of this here. I think this is super, super interesting. So
then that would be the case of a woman who uses her femininity, her, beguiling feminine self in a way that, twists and manipulates and deceives people.
And I think part of why they will never acknowledge that is because to do so is to understand and acknowledge that there are certain benefits to being a woman.
So that is look, I'm just trying to call balls and strikes here. Okay, I'm not trying to side on one side or the other and make a political. I'm just saying women should not be able to have a competitive advantage, or whatever you want to say, and men should not have a competitive advantage. White people, black people, no one should have a competitive advantage. And I think that this Amber Heard case, the Me Too, the hashtag Me Too, the hashtag believe all women. What do you mean believe all women? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is that? Like, no, I don't believe all women, just like I don't believe all men. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe all men. I don't believe all women. I don't believe either one. And but it's crazy to me how the church has just been so silent on this. This is the biggest issue that is changing how every single person in their congregation thinks, how they think about relationships, how they think about you know what I mean, how they think about women, men, and like, anyway, so that's why I wanted to talk about it here, because it's something that you just, you won't hear, but it is like, these are the actual things. These are the actual cultural things that are affecting people, and people want to know, what does God say about this? The general idea around this whole topic, okay, is, are you innocent until proven guilty, or are you guilty until proven innocent, right? When somebody's accused of something, you have this case, you have Deshaun Watson's case, you have, 23 women now have accused him of something, you have divorce cases out there, whatever, and people come out and they make accusations. Okay, so number one, one thing that I learned when I was, in my late 20s, is stop being the accuser. Okay, so if you're a Christian, in the Bible, the accuser is the spirit of the devil, or is the devil. It's called the accuser of the brethren. That is a name given to the devil. So when you get on the accusation side, you need to be very, very careful, because you're playing with if you track that, you're playing with witchcraft in the Bible. And witchcraft is not like, cauldrons and stuff. It's messing with how people think. Okay, it's warping how people think. So what's really, really interesting here is, most Christians, I think, feel an overwhelming empoweredness to judge before there's any verdict, before there's any evidence, before anything. And so, and they don't, and by evidence, I mean like talking to both sides, hearing it out, whatever. They've already made their decision on what they think, and they tie it back to their personal insecurities. And it's common in divorce where, somebody will tie someone else's divorce back to their divorce and how bad their divorce was. And so they're going to tell this new person getting a divorce, like, oh my God, like, you're going to have this and this and this, and these are things. Yep. That's what the person does. They're out there to screw you, blah, blah, blah. And they're warping the mind of somebody. And this is what the Bible calls strife, slander. And these are sins that are tied in with other sins, such as, and you can look at like Romans 1 and places, these are tied into other sins such as homosexuality. So people take a very staunch stance that homosexuals will not make it to heaven. We've had videos on that here. And I'm not trying to attack anybody. I'm just saying that's what the Bible says. And then, but in the same sentence, it also says slanderers, drunkards, those kind of things. And so here are people judging other people, and without wanting to know the verdict, without talking to the other side, without doing anything biblical at all, but they feel empowered because of Christianity. And so they feel this false sense of empowerment. I don't think that the pastors are really trying to get them to do this, but they feel a false sense of empowerment that it is okay for me to judge you. Oh, it is definitely okay. So what people don't realize, okay, is see, like the law, most of the law came from the Bible. Most people, even Christians, don't realize that. So when we talk about something like innocent to proven guilty, did you know that that's just not a good idea? That's actually a biblical principle. You can find it in Deuteronomy 17. I believe you can find it in Numbers 5, as well as in the New Testament, where it talks about, if you have an issue with somebody, take it to them. If they won't talk to you, go to the elders, go take it to one other person in the church, then go to the elders. There's actually an escalation path to try to validate what your assumption or your accusation is. And so how you know that you're dealing with something that's really weird is when somebody is so staunch on a verdict, okay? They are so concrete, anchored in that this happened, or this person did this to me, or this person said this, or this person, whatever, but they will not follow any biblical protocol because they know that there's nothing there. Okay, so you might be saying, well, what does that mean, or what does that process mean? In the Old Testament, you got to remember, Numbers, Deuteronomy, those books are specific about thousands and thousands of laws. Okay. And so there is laws in there, like I said, in Deuteronomy 17 and Numbers 5 and some other places, but specifically those where it talks about, okay, if you're going to accuse somebody, you need to have evidence. You can't just accuse somebody. Okay. So this concept that, well, God just told me, or I had a revelation or whatever, is actually, and some of you may not agree with this, so let me know, but that is actually not in the Bible, that people would get these accusations Okay. And then they have no evidence. And then but that's okay in God's kingdom or amongst God's people. That is not okay. And so you might be saying, well, wait a minute, James, like what about the cases where somebody did something to someone, and this is what the Bible talks about in specifically in Deuteronomy, where it says, like, what if I think in this case, I believe it says the woman committed adultery, and then it says specifically that there is no evidence of that. Okay, so she's saying that, but either the other person's not there or the other person's lying or whatever. So there is no actual evidence. No one actually saw it. So guess what it says? It says that the court of law is that there is no, like it's just your word against the other person. So it actually says, according to biblical a doctrine, it says that you are to leave that up to God, not to go around spreading it, not to ask the priest or in this case a judge to cast judgment on the other person, but you are to leave that up to God, and you are to have faith in God that God will judge that other person. Now, here's the thing. Why do we feel that we need to take it into our own hands? The only reason we do is because we actually do not have faith. We do not believe God will do anything. And so therefore we feel like we should step in and do something. And this is the hypocrisy that I'm talking about, that I think this whole Amber Heard thing, which really, as it came to an end, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is like the Me Too and the Believe All Women and the Femininity and all these things, like the toxic femininity, like this, all these things just started boiling up. And I started thinking about this, and I was like, dude, this is a great video about all these topics just got pulled in together on this, And so I would love to know what you guys think about this. All right, let's watch a few more minutes of this, and we will end here with something cool.
I think a lot of what we're seeing in modern Western culture, the failures, are due to masculinity being gutted and purged, which is creating this imbalance where a massive outgrowth of femininity becomes toxic, and there's no strong men to rebalance. So, like you mentioned.
Oh man, dude. Okay, I hope you heard what he said. I know sometimes these don't come through, but so he just said that there is this gutting of the masculinity of men. Okay. The fact that I could go into a lot of it, but there's a lot of research now, especially in the last 3 to 4 years, a lot of research showing that women are demasculating men in marriages. And that's not saying that maybe there aren't things going both ways on that. I don't know, but I'm saying specifically in these studies, that is a fact that men feel like they're being demasculated for whatever the causes there are. And so what he's saying is that here are these women causing this problem, and yet the men, because they've been demasculated, they are not willing to or able to or they're too chicken or whatever you want to call it to respond to it. So it's creating a deeper chasm right there. I think that is a very, very interesting piece of insight from Tim. So let's watch this other piece here.
That are in their late 20s that say, back in college, I cheated on my boyfriend and I felt really bad about it. And I, kind of said it was date rape. And, and they realized, years later that they basically ruined somebody's life. But at the time, as soon as. So
I can't tell you how many times that I have actually seen that happen, where something happened and the woman wasn't happy with the situation. She wasn't happy with what happened. And so she has to come up with an excuse. And by the way, this happens to men. This happens to, you can be black, white, whatever. But the point of this is all raveled up in believe all women. No, because she's a woman in the church. And you know what? Christians may not go around saying hashtag believe all women. In fact, they may even have a blog post or a YouTube video that says, I'm against hashtag believe all women. But it's how do you act? It's your conduct. Right. And when you go into these situations, do you feel that pressure that says, you know what, I've got to, I don't like the way this turned out. I don't like the way the reality turned out. I actually made choices that got me here. Just like that, just like the clinical psychologist is saying, the woman made choices to go about and cheat. And so she made choices as well. And here she is feeling like she has to do something in some self-righteous way to justify, which essentially is a half truth or a maybe. And so coming back to church people, this would be a half truth, or I think I saw something, or I think, you know, I didn't really tell him yes, or I didn't, you know what I'm saying? Instead of just saying, you know what, I was a part of the problem. I was a part of the problem too. And women feel pressured, as she just said, they feel pressured into telling the lie. And then later they feel bad about it, according to the psychologist. So anyway, guys, let me know what do you think about this? I think this is an interesting topic. I know this was a big one, but this is impacting us in every way, guys. I have a daughter who's 9, and I pray to God that she does not ever go through this, feel like this, create this unbalanced leverage out there, that she just does things as a good, fair human being, and that she, when she can't prove her point, she trusts in God to do what God said he would do. And you know what? That is what men do or supposed to do as well. That is what all people are supposed to do. So we're not, so hopefully, you know, you guys see, I'm not putting any, you know, overly weighted judgment or you know, unreasonable standards on one side or the other here. So let me know what you think, guys. That's what I think. It'll be interesting to see what you guys say about this. So I'll be here every single day for you guys. You let me know. Talk soon.